Here we go. Everything you ever wanted to know about the floor frame for a typical residential house. All right, so we're familiar with some of these things already. We got the footing down below, we've got our foundation wall, we've got our mud sill or sill plate running around the outside, and we've got our girder. And so the main component of a floor are boards that run across this way, and they are called joists. There it is, Joist. All right, here's a much better realistic picture, kind of a cutaway picture. So we've got the girder running down through the maybe near the middle of our house because the house is usually wide enough where we can't get lumber that stretches from one side to the other side. So we have to rest the joist on the sill plate over here, and then it'll rest on the girder over here. So you can see we got two pieces here that span the whole entire distance, and they kind of overlap right here in the middle. Um, just some other things to point out. There's always some kind of opening, right? This is going to be an opening for the stairwell. So you would have stairs maybe going down into the basement. Oh, this is a short basement. Um, so that is our stair opening. So a lot of times you'll see that they'll double up. So right here, these are doubled up floor joists because we have this big opening. So we got to make it stronger. So we have a double floor joist here, double floor joist over there. Um, this thing's called a header. We'll see that term again when we build walls, but kind of just going across in the opposite direction. Header, header here. And then when you have these short pieces, they're called tails. This piece right here is called the joist header that runs there. It's also sometimes called the ribbon. And this over here is the end joist. So that's how we're going to start this thing. We're going to start with a joist header, an end joist, and then another joist header, and then an end joist, and that's kind of called the box. And over here, you'll see we've got some double floor joist again with some space in between. This is so that plumbing, so pipes can run from, say, the basement up to the first floor. All right, here is a better view of what we've already done. We've got the sill plate. The sill plate was notched out, and there's our built-up girder sitting in the girder pocket. And you'll see the girder, the top of the girder is flush with the top of the sill plate. And you can also see that the sill plate is flush with the outside um, exterior foundation wall. There's our built-up girder, right? There was three pieces, and we had a offset these seams to make a nice strong girder. There's the girder pocket. Supposed to put space. There's supposed to be space, on the between the wood and the concrete so that it dries out and moisture doesn't collect in there. There is the lolly column that's holding up the girder, sitting on the footing. And again, here's another picture of the sill plate that we've already talked about. And here we go. There's the same picture again of our floor joist. This time we're just talking about the spacing of the floor joist. So from the center of one floor joist to the center of the other floor joist is what we call, 16 inches on center, 16 OC. So from the center of one to the center of the other is 16. From the center of this one to the center of this one is 16. And these are just different details on how they overlap or how they meet the girder in the middle. This is how to lay out the girders. Sorry, the floor joist. Again, it's every 16 inches on center. So you don't want to measure from one to the other one, to the next one, to the next one, to the next one, because you can make a mistake um, on every measurement. So what you do is you hook your tape measure on, you stretch it out, and when you look at the tape measure, you'll see they put a little red diamond or red letters right at every 16. So there's 16, there's 32, and so on and so forth. And you'll see this when we do some construction on a shed. What we do is we put a line. The line would line up with the edge of the joist, and the X would go right underneath the joist. So you know what side of the line to put the joist on is where the X falls. And there's the example right there, right? So you line up the edge of the joist, lines up on the line, and it goes right on top of the X. I want to go back to this one just for a second. Here it says keep crowned edges up. So from wood tech, we know that wood sometimes has warps, right? And if it has a crown to it, it's warped along its like edge. And so what you want to do, think about the Twin Bridges. When you go over the Twin Bridges, when you're leaving Albany County, you go to Saratoga County, they have that natural arch or that arch. An arch is strong, so you want the arches to go up. So if we make all the arches go up, the floor will be stronger and it won't be wavy. Think if you had an arch up on this one and the arch down on this one, it would be kind of like a wave or a roller coaster. And here we go. The floor joist is a structural member, right? You're standing on top of the floor joist. It has to hold up your weight and all the furniture above it. So if you go poking big holes through it, it just gets weaker. So there's a bunch of rules on what size hole you can put in, what size notch you can put in, and how close it can be to the bottom edge and the top edge, and where in the span it is. And then finally, in those other pictures, we didn't see bridging. Maybe you've seen this before. If you in a basement, sometime you look up, you'll see um, to to stiffen up the floor, they cut these little diagonal pieces of wood. Actually, now most of the time they're metal straps, and it really makes the floor a lot more solid. And you could also put solid bridging in there also, but that is called bridging. And then once you have the floor created, then what you do is you're going to put down plywood sheets. So right here, this is a 4 foot by 8 foot plywood sheet. And you'll see that the end of it has to be supported on a joist. It has to be supported on solid lumber. So it's halfway on this board, and the next piece would go right here, and we continue it down. And this is just to point out that the long edge, the long edge goes across the joist. And that is just about all you've ever wanted to know about floor joists.